Next up, we are going to turn to the PGA Tour where we have the Farmers Insurance Open. But first, let's recap last week. The inevitable happened. Scotty Scheffler is back.
Yeah, he certainly is. Plus 300 odds. Had an edge from the model. We talked about it. I personally said I'm looking further down the board. Too early for me in the season to get on Scotty. Probably won't be doing that again. I mean, if the model shows value in him, I'll be betting him. And I'll be betting everybody else winner without, as I said, or just top five. Because if he's doing this in his first event of the year where he was pretty close and then won by 4 strokes, I just don't know what anybody else can expect to do. Fortunately, he's out of the field this week, so we can get a little bit more of a shot, at least on some of our longer edge guys. Tough break for some of them last week. Henley, we had him with value to win. We talked about him being better play in placements. Well, he had a share of the lead on day 3, fell to T28 by the end of the day, ended up finishing tied for 8th on the week. So cash top 20, cash top 10. Harry Hall, Ben Griffin, they were fighting around, but they ultimately finished outside the top 20 and didn't cash for us. But we move on to Torrey Pines for the Farmers Insurance Open. Some pretty good storylines here. Probably none smaller than Koepka's return, or none larger, rather. Koepka's return to the PGA Tour. Xander Schauffele's season debut in his hometown, and reigning champ Harris English in the field following up his T27 debut last week. So go through the course real quick here. Just break things down a bit. Obviously teeing off on Thursday through Sunday. It's a $9.6 million purse. I think that makes this a signature event. I believe there are 2 courses here, the North and South course. Everyone's going to play 1 round on each before the cut, and then the play will move to the tougher South course for the weekend's round. So that's where play will mostly determine this tournament. A lot of little minutia about, if you play the North course in better conditions, you're better set up because you'll capitalize, and then guys who play the North course in tougher conditions aren't getting as much of a benefit. But 3 rounds on the South course, which is much harder, that's where it's going to be decided for the most part. A lot of people consider this the first true test of the tour season. Winning scores are typically lower in the low teens, as opposed to, like we saw last week, an absolute birdie fest that was pushing minus 30. Like I said, going to be determined on the South course. So that's kind of what we're mostly looking at as far as, or what you should be looking at as far as aligned stats and matchups and stuff. Quick breakdown of each course. They're both par 72s, but the North course is a lot shorter. It's 58 yards. South course is 7,800 almost. It's the longest on the PGA Tour. Greens are larger on the North course, smaller on the South course. Most difficult non-major course on the tour last year. Average score was 73.5, 1.5 strokes over par. Narrow fairways. Like I said, the greens are about 1,000 square feet smaller on the South course, so just a lot harder to hit your spots. Greens are bumpier on the Poa Nua grass, and it's a driver-heavy course that's going to give an edge to the longer hitters. So if you're looking for individual guys, look at who's good off the tee, who's good on approach at longer distances. And when you're looking at driving stuff, look at who can really drive the ball over distance, a little bit less on accuracy, especially if they're good on approach. So pull up the predictions here. We'll go through each guy we have to get an edge in the outright market, and just quickly take a peek at the predictions in the placements to talk about who might have value there. So we'll start off with Xander Schauffele. Plus 1,600. He's at 7.6%. He's our model's favorite. He'd be fair at plus 1,215. Hometown hero. He's back at Torrey Pines. He missed it last year with a rib injury as he was recovering. Little bit of a slow start last season before picking it up. But he really ended the season in what you would consider Xander Schauffele form. He perfectly fits this as far as a bomber. 24th in driving distance last season, 12th in strokes gained approach, 32nd on approach is over 200 yards. So like I said, those longer distance iron play is going to come into be a factor pretty heavily. Putting was a weakness for him last year, but historically that's a strength of his. So it gives him upside if he's, pretty much back into his normal form. Strong fit here with tee to green ability. And like I said, he's the model's favorite. He's getting an edge. He's worth a target here. Next up, our second most likely, JJ Spawn, 5.9%. He's plus 3,300, fair at 1,600. Quietly, one of the more interesting course fit plays, I think, here. 10th straight start at this tournament. Solid start in 2025 at this event. He had a T15. Pretty good last week. He had opening and closing round 66. He ended up finishing T40, though, with his middle rounds not very good. He has a T9, and I mentioned a T15 here in the past. Those are his best finishes. The T9 was his his debut here, and T15 was his most recent. Really good on long approaches, 5th on tour last season on approaches over 200 yards. Not really known for distance or accuracy off the tee, so it kind of caps his winning ceiling. Might look at him more as a top 20, top 10, top 5 guy than an outright. Let's check real quick if he's got the edge there. Nothing in top 5, but top 10 and top 20, he has an edge. So maybe temper your expectations for a win, but he should be in contention at least. Cameron Young, 5.5% plus 2,200, fair at 1,720. Sky high expectations for this guy coming into his 5th season. He was scorching hot to end last year. He won, finished 5th, 11th, T4, T9, solo 10th down the stretch. That all came after a missed cut at the Open. So he just completely rebounded from that, put it behind him. Started here twice. He's got a T20 and a missed cut. So total mixed bag of those two. Got lots of power, 17th in driving distance last year, 31st off the tee overall. Not very accurate, but as we said, you want to prioritize distance over accuracy. 7th overall in putting last year, 4th in one putts, which could be a huge difference here on these, especially the bigger greens. If he can get a little bit closer, he's got an advantage for shortening up those holes. Weakness is a bit on approach, though, so you might be getting a little bit of a mixed bag here. Hideki Matsuyama, next winner with an edge, 3.8%, going just slightly down the board here, 3,500, fair at 2,530. Excellent form coming into this season. He's made the cut in his last 9 outings here, 5 top 20 finishes, has a T3 and a T9. He's more accurate than he is a power guy, but he's really good on approach. He ranked 19th last year. His long iron play is obviously a strength, which is good on this long setup. And if the putter behaves a little better, he should have a pretty good outing here and follow up his solid starts so far. And then finally, we're going to look at Alex Noren. He doesn't get a flame here, but you just have to do, sometimes this is why getting used to implied probability and stuff is helpful, because you can see, first of all, just look at him. He's plus 6,000, and everybody in his same odds range is 3,000, 2,800, plus 4,000. So it signals there might be an edge there. And if you do the math, there certainly is. 2.6% is fair at plus 3,750, and he's plus 6,000. So that might be only about 1% probability, but it's a huge difference in the odds. He opened the year with a missed cut, but he caught fire late last year after missing the first 4 months due to injury recovery. 4 top 10s in his last 5 starts, a T7, T3, playoff runner-up. Model's got some great value here, as I mentioned. He's a really good putter, 3rd on tour in strokes gained putting last year. So it gives him a great path on a course where, like the South course, where putting is difficult. He's not an elite tee to green guy, but if he continues, the way he finished last year, he should certainly contend with some of the other guys at the top of the board. And like I said, there's a lot more placement value to dive into here. If you look through, plenty of top 20s, you have a couple guys who don't have an edge outright. Justin Rose, Christian Bezuidenhout, I think I said his name correctly. That one's a mouthful. Matt Kuchar. And then sometimes even when you look at the winners, you look down here, you might find something like Christian again, plus 9,200, 1.5%. I can tell you without doing the math, that's an edge. Aaron Ray, 1.5% plus 8,600. That's an edge. Sometimes just seeing the guys and how much their odds are different from the guys around them can give you a little hint there too. But lots to dig into here. I'll play these winners as I usually do, very small unit, and then look at other ways to play them in placements. Little top 20 parlay maybe of our top 3 edges or our top 3 probabilities. Usually a fun way to go. Would have been pretty close last week if Ben Griffin and Harry Hall got in there. So tons of ways to play it. And yeah, don't sleep on the matchup tool either. One of these days we'll go through, we'll have a little bit more fun with this thing, but you can, plug in any two golfers. It'll spit out their probabilities to finish head to head, either over round one or a full tournament. Sometimes it can be a little finicky here, but if you give it a try, let us know if it doesn't work for you, and we'll talk about it. Yeah, it's not working for me now. Bad demo here, but it does work. It does function, and I'll probably actually write up a little head-to-head matchup parlay for it this week. Oh, and hey, gotta just real quick. Let's look at Brooks Koepka.
Yeah, he's back.
Yep, so he's back, officially a member of the PGA Tour again. We're getting him 1.3% to win, plus 6,600. Quick math on that. I'm not doing well, but it's not an edge, I don't believe. It's probably pretty close to fair odds, though. As far as a top 20, 25.6%. Yeah, see, that's almost fair. Plus 300 would be fair. Actually, that pretty much is 0.6. So, yeah, he's about fair. Model doesn't find an edge on him, but he might contend. Might be a lot more going on for him mentally than just getting back on into the swing of things. No pun intended, but something to look for.
Yeah, what a time for Koepka, for golf fans, his return. Hopefully, I mean, if you're a truther like me, hopefully the first of a few returns that we see in the near future on the PGA Tour. But no, I'll give the same plug you're giving. I mentioned it last week. The golf edition of the model, right? We kind of refer to everything as like the football model, the basketball. It's all the same model, but the tools that are at your disposal as a golf bettor using the Dimers model, it's one of the more comprehensive ways to do it. I'm glad you got into some of the matchup betting, because I remember days years ago where I was just pretty much a pure against the spread bettor, and I would bet football, basketball outcomes, like head to head. I want one of these two outcomes. That's how I like to bet. And this feels like decades ago before really I got into player props. But the point is, I think a lot of people look at golf as like the wild, wild west, where you can't get that sort of action because it's just you have to pick one out of a hat of 100 people playing. No, you can bet head-to-head golf matchups too, the same way you would bet head-to-head anything else. And luckily, the Dimers model is a great resource for that. So of everything you went through here, I am on Cam Young because, to your point, he was scorching hot at the end of last season.
Yeah.
Amazing putter, bombs it off the tee. I think he sets up really nicely for this course. And thank you to Scotty Scheffler for not playing this week, because my favorite thing when we have the fire emoji on the model on the three most likely winners of the tournament, Xander Schauffele, JJ Spawn, and Cam Young. So that's nice. Instead of just staring at like plus 250 Scotty Scheffler odds, we're getting 16, 33, and 22 to 1 and all show value for our three favorites, Dave. That's fun.
Yeah, probably also why we're getting value on those longer odds plays too, like the Norin, Christian Bezuidenhout, because there is no Scheffler, which would chop these guys' probability. It doesn't take more than 0.2, 0.3% to take them out of edge range. Chop their odds harder than these contenders at the top, more likely.
Yeah. So thanks, Scotty. If you want to take more time off, just show up for the majors and we'll be happy with you.